Well, hello, good evening and welcome to Rangers Radio. Join myself, Fox here. On the show tonight is Juicy Bear and the legend that is Bridgeman. How we doing, boys?
Good evening, Ox. Good evening, Bridge, and good evening, fans.
Oh, good evening to yourself, Ox. Good evening to you, Juicy, and to the techie boys in the background. Big good evening to them and to all the Rangers fans listening in all over the world. Good evening. Welcome to Rangers Radio.
How's Juicy?
Very well, thank you, Ox. Very well. Pleased to be here. Building up to another big game at the weekend. Happy times.
Yeah. The biggest game, always, Bridge, yeah?
Next game's always the biggest game. And, of course, depending on who it is we're playing, then it's going to be more difficult the higher up the league you go. And it doesn't get more difficult than this one, that's for sure. I don't know how you're going to handle talking about that mob. They've done us every time we've played them, virtually, you know.
I just don't talk about them. That seems to serve me well.
I'm talking about us. How are you going to...
Listen, we know where we are. We're very honest, Juicy, about where we are. I think the support know where we are. If you reflect on the semi-final, it's just been in the two league games. Arguably, there's a bounce of the ball in it that we could have possibly won the 3 games, mate. You know? I mean, we know we lost a goal at Ibrox. The 2 goals we lost were shocking. The goals we lost at Hampden, at Parkhead, 2 out of the 3 were big errors. And then the semi-final, we make a howling defensive error and Fashion misses an absolute star, mate. You know, and these are the margins in these games, Juicy.
They are margins, Ox. You're right. But it's about a mentality of dragging yourself through those games, which this team did have, and we had it very, very well. But that has been lost, and now it's about trying to rebuild what was. But Michael Beale has improved the team in terms of, as you said there, we're not getting pumped anymore. And you've got to try and build it. We all want to win everything straight away. But look at where we were when we went there under Gio, and we took a battering then. And yeah, we made defensive errors in that match as well. But the difference between the two teams in the main, Ox, is clinical strikers, clinical forward line players. And there may only be 1 or 2 goals in there, but we're not scoring enough to hurt many teams, not least them. But anyone in the league, we're not.
It was
easy for ourselves to go.
Yeah. You're spot on. I think that's a bigger problem with our defence, if I'm being honest, Bridge. Because if you score goals at the right time, it takes the weight off the defence, and the confidence goes through the team. And over the season, we just haven't done it, Bridge.
Absolutely, Pat. Absolutely. Look, we all know you see the weaknesses in our team, of the craziness in our team at times. But the way you described it there, you can't go to Celtic Park and make mistakes that give goals away and no score. If you score, you get a chance to win it. If you don't score, you don't get any chance to win it. And if you give away goals, it makes it even more difficult, which we've done. And some dreadful mix-ups in the defence, and it's just sheer bad play at times. And it's cost us big. And if you think back to some of the finer times with great teams, they weren't necessarily the greatest players in the whole world, but combined they were a tremendous team, and it gave confidence all the way through. I'm afraid that some of the players that we've got in our team, or had in our team anyway, didn't breed any confidence with their mates, because they were playing badly, and it was knocking onto them. So that's the way I look at it anyway, Oxley. I think all ourselves, we're only all our own blame us all the time. Yeah.
You've lost me, brother. He's lost me, Juicy.
Why? We can only blame ourselves, I'm saying.
Aye. I get it. What do you see it, Juicy? Is it the defence or the goal scoring? I just think all our games this season were made hard by not taking chances. And then the weight comes off the defence then.
I think if you look at the goals scored in the SPFL league table, then that is the answer, Ox. We are way behind where we should be in terms of the goals scored. And you don't score enough goals in the match, it puts more pressure on your defence. particularly in the big matches. But the goals and the goals creation from what we have done in previous seasons has dropped off massively. And what that does, Ox, is it makes any mistake that the defence do look far, far more pertinent, because if we're 5-0 up and Suter or Goldson or Davis makes a bad mistake, no one really cares. Okay, you lost your clean sheet. McGregor's probably going to be a little bit peeved, but it's not something you're going to talk about for weeks and weeks. You don't score goals and you lose the match by 1 goal. All you're talking about is that howler that the defender made, and it just puts more and more pressure on them. So I think the forward line, when we critique the back line, you've got to look at the fact that your front three are beyond powder puff. It's a whole new level of talcum powder that those three have been producing for us.
Talcum powder. That's a new name for it, Bridget.
Talcum powder, yeah. But there's so much truth in the things that all of us have said, because obviously the key to playing football and winning games is scoring goals. It's as simple and as plain as the nose in your face. You have to score goals. And Rangers, as a club, have probably, this is the worst they've had from a scoring perspective for a long number of years. We're really
isn't it statistically, Bridge? Bizarre.
No, I'm only saying it's really bad. We're sitting there second top of the league, 10 or more points behind them, and God knows how many goals we're behind them. It's just incredible, just utterly incredible. And, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, we might have been worse because we were in the doldrums. 15 years ago, we wouldn't have been, because we're playing quite well and scoring a lot of goals. I think that's the main thing, of course, we're talking about. Need to score goals, and the manager's got to come up with, I don't know what he's going to do with that. A magic wand somewhere and steal somebody.
Mm-hmm. I get your point, Juicy, about it takes the weight off. I just think that in any game of football, goals change games. If you think back when we drew with Livingston, they got a goal in the first half and it gave them something to hold on to, and you start playing against the clock. We came back and got an equaliser. Should have won the game. We'd enough chances, enough situations, but never. It gives teams something to hang on to, Juicy, and then you put yourself under pressure. I genuinely believe that defenders, goalkeepers can make mistakes in the game, lose 1-0. You still necessarily should have enough time to go and win the game. Obviously, if it happens late on, you're against the clock, but goals change games, and you can't. Your defence helps you win your league, but that can only get you 38 points. You need to score goals to win games, Juicy.
Most of the teams that we play in the SPFL play a style of football that it's not easy to break down. And you normally have to score 2 goals before they open up, because they realise that they're just going to get beat if they carry on playing the way they are. But even at 1-0, you're playing against a hammer-throwing team, Ox. They don't change the way they're playing because they're still thinking, well, we might get one chance in this match. We don't need to change the way we're playing. And if we're playing a style of football that isn't very attacking or very explosive, which it certainly wasn't under Gio, and despite Beale's efforts, we haven't had the quality in the forward line to score a lot of goals. Not that he hasn't tried to change it up, because I think he certainly has. That's when the pressure comes, because the goals aren't there. And even against a hammer-throwing team, behind the ball, in a sort of Craig Levein classic formation, it's really, really hard to get it going. And if you're low on confidence, which I'm afraid at times we have been, it makes it really, really hard. And what makes us... I've seen this same group of players be the complete opposite from that. Most of this team was present for winning the league title. So that's what makes it hard, is that turnaround from what we've seen.
Yeah, and I get it. The script that we play against you, the play, they want to keep it tight. They want to get to 20 minutes first and foremost. Bridge, then their aim is to get to half time. The crowd go on the team's back if they're in at nothing each at half time. If they lose a goal, They keep with the same tactics, and generally run about 75 minutes to the refresh. They take off a couple of players that's been booked, maybe 3 in midfield, to bring on 2 pacey forwards, and they then open up and try and sneak a goal. And so many times that we've maybe lost a goal when it's a team's first effort at goal, mate.
Yeah. In fact, sometimes when we've lost goals, they've been the first effort in the whole game, and we've lost a goal, you know. For that, sometimes we started up poorly. They've maybe had 5 or 6 minutes of joy playing, and all of a sudden we make a wee mistake, or the goalkeeper misses a ball, any stupid thing like that, and away we go. But that's us 1 behind, and we've came back many times during the season there from these situations. But sometimes you don't. Just sometimes you just don't. It doesn't happen for you. We really need to be able to play better than we're playing and score goals. Please score goals, because everything you've said there and there, they get a guy they come out, they get a break, somehow or other the ball goes into the net, and before you know it, there's 9 men behind the ball for the rest of the game. That's the way they play.
We see it on a regular basis, you see, you know. But however, that's gone. It's not going to be like that on Saturday morning. It doesn't care what the circumstances is. This is a big game, and it's a big game for our manager, and it's a big game for our support, and they deserve a result, Juicy.
It's a big game regardless of the circumstances. It's a big game whether one team's won the league by 20 points or whether it's tight, whether it's over or whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's a match that the fans judge the management team and the players by very, very severely, sometimes harshly, but also sometimes justly. And I think as Beale goes, he knows this one's a big one. It's not going to... his job's not at risk from this, because that would be ridiculous if the result doesn't go their way. Regardless, he'll get the summer. Of course he will, to have a chance at rebuilding his own team. And I think in terms of importance, every Old Firm game is important, Ox, but the first Old Firm of next season will be the one where the pressure will be on him to a massive degree if the result doesn't go their way. But he needs to use this weekend as a builder for the players, who are still there, some of the players that he still wants to retain, and to see what they can give him. I have no idea who we're going to play up front, and that's what we can maybe debate over the next couple of days.
All I know is I've been told to turn up with my boots.
Good idea. Good idea.
I love it. As long as they don't ask me for Oxford, as long as they don't ask me, then go carry on the distance of myself.
But I get it, mate. I get it. Listen, look, you're always under pressure in our job, Bridge, and we want to give Michael Beale time to build his own team. He's brought a couple of players in. Players are going to go. I'm sure we'll speculate and talk about that after this particular game's out the way, or we might, depending on what the callers come in with tonight. However, I think because of the run of results, the big game, there's a bit of pressure on Michael Beale. Know that he's under pressure to lose his job. If he loses this game, the screw will tighten a wee bit on him. And I don't mean that in a nasty way. That's the pressure that any Rangers manager's under. I think Walter Smith said, you're 3 games away from a crisis. So the screw will tighten a wee bit. But the pressure the screw will untighten when the season ends and we start bringing in these new players, and then it'll be judged quickly at the start of next season, Bridgman.
Yeah, let's hope that happens like that. I don't think this is a result, unless it's a howler. I mean, a huge howler. I don't think that will matter a great deal to the fans, to be honest. Obviously, they all matter, being Rangers fans. But I think a lot of fans, I think, in their psyche have jumped past this game, and they're only really desperately keen to get to the end of the season and reset and bring your new players in. I think that's what a lot of them are thinking. Obviously, we want to win the game. Make no bones about that. We want to win the game, but if we know we've lost Morelos and possibly Ryan Kent and people like that, if they're not going to be able to play for us, then we're going to be kind of, shall we say, weakened. I don't know whether that's the truth or sort of the way they've been playing, but I don't know how weak we're going to be. But Ibrox, I don't. You're a good stats. You're good at stats. I don't think we've lost at Ibrox this season, have we?
In the league?
No. That's a good record to hold.
Yeah. But what's the points? We've drew with them at Ibrox, and we've drew with Livingston.
Remember
yeah.
That's
the stats. But however, what I will say, that's the stats. Juicy. Let's be honest. Have we played well at Ibrox this season? Maybe the Aberdeen game when Gio was there. Apart from that, I'm struggling to pick out any highlights, mate.
Yeah, there's been a lot of rough matches, Ox, in terms of the performance levels and low-scoring games, results where we've churned out wins, which would be more akin to an away performance. We've actually performed much, much better away from home this season. Open matches, much better style of play, playing with a little bit more of a freedom. It would appear maybe the pressure for them was less. They played better. I don't know what it is. I know the expectations are great at Ibrox. Any home team's fans always put a lot of pressure on the players, particularly when it's a team that's akin to having to win almost every single time they play. But there aren't many performances, Ox, where you remember the seasons and go, oh, we were fantastic this home game. And there were some real drab games and low scoring, and obviously those draws that we've had. They really hurt us, and they certainly hurt Gio.
I think, Juicy, with at Ibrox, obviously we've got a full crowd for ourselves at Ibrox this weekend. If we can play even 50% as good as we played against them at their ground, then I think we'd be doing very well indeed against them. I think we're there for the taking, to be honest. The players should be able to lift themselves for this game.
If you look at the last 3 goals we've lost against them, let's be honest, we got what we deserved in the cup final. We've got to be honest with that in the League Cup final. Do you say, yeah, agree? We got what we deserved, yeah?
Yeah. No problem with that.
Yeah, but the other 3 games since the turn of the year, we didn't get what we deserved. Now, let's look at the 3 goals we've lost. The last 3 goals we've lost against them. The one in the semi-final, the one with Big Davis makes a couple of mistakes, and the one with the pass with Ryan Jack and the back pass with the young Suter. They're horrendous goals to lose as a football team. Then you throw in the attacking options. Yeah? And then you go to the game at Ibrox where we lost. That's the last 3 goals we've lost against them. That's the last 3 goals we've lost against them. 3 goals that are absolutely schoolboy. Just say then, Bridge. That's the facts.
You're right. The goals we conceded were poor. And look, we've conceded a few poor goals like that through the season, not just in the off-home games. But the reason why that becomes more of a problem, Ox, as we alluded to at the beginning of the show, was the fact that our forward line did not, at any point, not really in any of the matches this season, have we really penetrated them in terms of open play. Yes, Tav's done very well with set plays, particularly the free kick, obviously. But in open play, I don't think they sweat our forward line. They don't sweat playing against any combination of that 3 or 4 or 5 players that we have. And that's the problem. And these matches would have been even tighter if we just cut out some of those really, really basic mistakes. But my biggest worry is, who the hell is going to put the ball in the back of the net against them? If it's not Tav, I'm very worried. But it is tighter. And I know it's really hard for the fans and everyone who's listening to put together sort of hope and belief when you see us losing perennially at every level at the moment. But it is tighter than it was. And if we can cut out some of those mistakes, Ox, then the opportunities are going to be there if this forward line can get its heads on and actually get their act together.
Yeah, I get it. The defence, they 3 goals, Bridge. You would have been angry playing decent amateur or juvenile football or school football. You'd angry to lose the 3 goals. Huh?
The higher up you go, the tougher it gets, and the more fights there are with each other in the team,
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily mean physical fights, but real big arguments and fallouts because of you did such and such, and that's not what we would do. Why didn't you clear the ball? All that crap. And then when it going up the tunnel, and it's in your ear and it's getting to you, And I was always nearly always the one that was giving it out, So there always sort of rumblings, and people get really upset. And I can just imagine how these professionals do it, How on earth can you forgive somebody with a smile that's done some of the things that we've watched them doing? Some of the passes right straight to the Celtic player, and he pops it in the net. It's just unbelievable. When you
and that's, by the way, that's without me throwing in the 2 goals that we lost to Ibrox. The Morelos blind pass and the kamikaze defending for a second goal. I'm being kind.
Yeah, pal. Yeah, I think there's been about 5, maybe possibly 7 goals that they scored against us that were questionable from our perspective, and that's what we're saying. And no matter how many times you can go far back, and you'll still see some of those things, but you won't see it as bad as that. I don't think you'll ever see anything as bad as that. No matter where we are, it's just been horrendous, just utterly horrendous, And with that, if we can cut that out, as just as I said a wee bit earlier, if we can cut all that crap out and let the guys play and get down there and play for yourself and the team and make sure you play a good game for yourself, and you do everything right, get your first tackle in, or first block in, whatever it is you want to call it, earn your first header, take a good throw in, all these things. Because these are other things we're not very good at the start of a game. You get smartened up.
Yeah, so that's the mistakes we made, but ultimately we've made mistakes at the other end of the park, We had a good goal chopped off at their place, which could have changed the outcome. Morelos had another chance at their place, and then we had the Fashion Sakala chance in the last game. These are also some criminal things that's happened to us just here.
Well, a couple of those were almost beyond criminal. They were global criminal mistakes, and particularly the unfortunate goal being ruled out at Parkhead, very bad. But actually, that could have changed the game. But you're still going to have to do more than that. You're still going to need to score more than 1 or 2 goals to beat them at their place. But obviously, it would have helped a lot, and it would have set a marker down for the match. Fashion, well, I don't know why we continue to persist at playing him as a forward in a central role. He can only play as a winger or left winger, and he can't be allowed to shoot. He's got to pass it. The guy can't finish his dinner. It makes me sad because I've said many, many times on this show that the guy deserves an opportunity, and I still don't think we've ever really given him the opportunity on the left wing position, which he really should have had an opportunity at by now, considering how poor Kent has been. But there's mistakes there that when you look at some of the clinical forwards and then even strikers and forwards and wingers that we've had, Ox, that haven't always been the greatest, most of them would have put away those chances that he's missed.
Can I just come in on that?
Yeah, when you go, mate.
Sometimes if you're playing with confidence, everybody in the team, no matter what position you're playing in, if an opportunity comes in, you get good skills in general, and if you're playing with confidence, you'll put the ball away for the goalkeeper. If you're through 1-on-1, it's going to take a really, really good save by the goalkeeper to beat you. And that's the way things are. If you're low in confidence and the ball hits you, it comes near you, and you're going to go through on a goalkeeper, you'll be completely indecisive, which will make up the goalkeeper's mind to make a save. And these are things the small things that happen. Read the game, that's what it's all about. And Fashion's been through 1-on-1, I don't know how many times, maybe 6 times in the last few games, and he's no scored yet.
But also, listen, I get it with the 1-on-1. The one he missed at Aberdeen, I get it. you know, he's got, for anybody watching the game, you get in the goalie. But there is times, Juicy, when you hit it, you get a bit of the luck and it gets through the goalie's legs. But the chance he missed at Hampden wasn't a luck, or wasn't it was an open goal. It wasn't as if he hit it on target and the goalie scrambled and made a fantastic save. He never even hit the target, mate, for what, 4 yards? Open goal. And it was similar to the one he missed in the final as well, which could have made that game different. And that's the sad thing. As much as we like Fashion, you'll be remembered for the howlers, mate.
It's a good job this is a family show, Ox, because there's a lot of things that we probably want to say that would be totally inappropriate for this time of the evening. But
don't you start swearing, Joseph.
I know. I'm okay. I'm controlled. I'm controlled, Bridge. I don't.
I'm just letting you out of it, pal.
Fashion Sakala's not getting me yellow carded. It's just really sad that someone who we know plays with a lot of enthusiasm, but ultimately, does he really have the quality? And he doesn't really. And that makes me quite sad saying that, because I don't think any of us dislike the guy and his attitude. He's certainly not one of these players that is known for being, a bit moody. And there's plenty of players at Ibrox right now who we aren't happy with regards to their attitudes. None of us would disagree that Fashion Sakala has a bad attitude. He certainly doesn't. He's a positive player. But that only takes you so far, doesn't it? It's about ability, composure, and if you were rating his composure level, it would be very, very low from what we've seen over the course of his tenure with us. And will he go in the summer? Will he be in the manager's plans, Ox? I don't know. He's not the only one. We can't just single out the boy, because obviously Alfredo, we know, is going. Ken, very, very, very poor, especially for the outlay. And then other forward players as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right, okay. Right. I'll give you a bit of time to think about this, what your lineup is going to be for the weekend.
Oh, my God.
Give you a bit of time to think about it.
Oh.
But we'll also bring your callers in and see who they think we should play. Let's hear from you.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show. It's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Yes, it's Fashion will be remembered for that, but yeah, ultimately in the games he was never the worst player on the park also. But when you have big misses like that, you carry that about and people remember it, particularly in big games, yeah.
Well, football matches are about moments, aren't they? And you might have a player that's performed really well during the match and doing bits and pieces depending on what their role is. But you always remember the shocking moments far more than someone's all-round general play. And as I said, Fashion, positive player, but you're missing sitter after sitter in Old Firm matches. I'm afraid that's what you're going to be remembered for. And we've still got to recognise as well that, a season ago, you scored an excellent equaliser at Parkhead, and almost, again, should have scored the winner, but didn't. So again, you're seeing both the good and the bad from a player. And I know all players are capable of it, but confidence-wise, and really what it comes down to is consistency. And the top players who are worth the top money are worth that money because of the consistency, Ox. And I'm afraid we Fashion just doesn't have that.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Alfie will get criticised for the record against him for different reasons. I've scored more goals against him than Chris Boyd. And if he'd have been served up with 8 chances, the net would have rippled, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. He doesn't miss from that kind of range.
Well, unless Mr. Edu was coming in to put it in the net after Boyd hit the goal with it. Bridge liked that one, didn't you, Bridge, last minute?
Absolutely loved it. These things are great, man.
Yeah, come in. How would you solve the riddle for Saturday? Well, no. I mean, obviously, there's 2 days to go to the match. We must be due some injuries, Bridgeman.
Well, everything's quiet in the Western Front, shall we say, that we know of. There's more talk or interest in who's coming in and when it's going to come in, and is it a free, that kind of thing, you know, and then what the team's going to be. Obviously, Friday night will tell you a different story, and Saturday morning even more so. But we'd be talking about what's the team going to be at the weekend, and there's going to be a variety of them as well.
I've no room for sentiment anymore. My sentiment bubbles burst. Robbie McCrory starts for me, Juicy.
Oh, absolutely. He starts the remaining 4 matches. And, you know, the guy's kept multiple clean sheets in his senior appearances for us so far, and I know that's not many appearances. But he looked confident at the weekend. We know McGregor's going. We know McLaughlin's probably going. So you play McCrory because he's probably the only goalkeeper who's going to be retained on our books from next season. So totally agree.
Bridge?
I don't know. My heart rules my head. McCrory obviously has played very, very well, and I don't have any problem with McCrory. I think, if my memory serves me right, this will be our last game at Ibrox this season. Is that correct?
No, we play Hearts at Ibrox, mate.
Hearts at Ibrox, okay. So I would suggest then, for me, I'd put McGregor in. This might be his last array at Ibrox. To say cheerio and so on and so forth to the fans. That's what I would put in goal. That's what I'd play. But I don't have a problem with McCrory's playing. I don't have a problem.
I've no room for sentiment, Juicy.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. Sorry, Bridgeman. I think there's 0 point in playing someone who playing against them is, you know, there's nothing in it for us in the long run by playing players who aren't going to be with us next season. And I totally understand it's not a time where you'd want to experiment. And so it's not the right word. Using McCrory there is not an experiment. Using McCrory there is because he's proved to be a competent keeper when he's had senior appearances for us. So, you know, he was forced into that role when we had injuries. He was forced into that role when we had to play an important European qualifier, and he did the business. And he did the business last weekend. These are all pretty big matches, playing against the Sheep, Celtic, and European games. So you judge him on that, and you judge him on that alone. And Mr. McGregor has been beyond superb for us, but he doesn't come from crosses.
Yep, come and give us your thoughts. 0141 356 1972. Phone in. Give your thoughts. Who would you start in goal? I'm going against the elder statesman of Rangers Radio, Bridgeman, who's reluctantly went for Alan McGregor. Experience, sentiment, last Old Firm game. I'm saying no room for sentiment along with Juicy. Build up the boy McCrory. I don't think Bridge minds that neither, but let's hear what you've got to say. Simple, Bridge, innit?
Of course, yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm definitely siding on the side of McGregor, simply because it's a huge game. No matter what we say,
you may well be right. You may well be right. You know, but I don't think we earn anything for that, Juicy, do we? There's no stripes there for us, or no experience there. There's no. It's just.
Yeah, look, I'm not suggesting McGregor isn't a competent keeper. I know he doesn't come from crosses, but I was really impressed with how McCrory was commanding his goal, and he was coming out for things. And you know, if we've got any desire to keep him at this club, we need to be playing him in these last 4 or 5 matches, regardless of who the opponent is. Give him the solid run that he's deserving of, giving him the run that the manager spoke of earlier in the season, saying that he would get run of games. Don't suddenly just drop him for this game. Give him the opportunity. And, win, lose or draw, Alan McGregor is not going to be our keeper next season.
I agree with you 100% what you're saying, 100%, pal. And yeah, I don't have any problem if the manager wants to pick McCrory. And McCrory, I'm quite happy with that. I don't think he'll let us down. I just think that they'd be more wary of Alan McGregor in goal than McCrory. I don't know what that means to any of them, but it means something to me. They might think it's easier to have great shots and so on and so forth. I'll not try that because if McGregor's in goal, you want to save it. But they might just say, let's try it. I mean, that's just a lot of rubbish, really, but it just might happen like that.
One of the pluses I felt for Saturday was Robbie McCrory, and the save he made in the first half was an excellent save. And he had a decent one in the second half as well. But the pace of him coming off his line, I mean, compared to Alan, with the greatest of respect to Alan because we know his age, McCrory looked like an Olympic sprinter, just see.
It was night and day in terms of the physical attributes, and just give him the opportunity. I'd be really, really disappointed to see him not start. And look, he may not be our keeper from a first choice perspective going into next season. We may well invest in another keeper. I think we certainly need to invest in another keeper. So we can debate who will the number one be, but we very much doubt McLaughlin will stay at the club. I just don't think he's good enough. So please play McCrory, Mr. Beale. And if he wants to agree, come at me if you disagree.
I would describe it, Juicy, as the difference is like the pace of Bridge going to the bar or Mia Fox going to the bar.
Harsh, but I agree with you.
You need a fight to get Fox out of his chair, I'll tell you.
Yeah, but we'll see. Bridge, you may well be right, but it'd be interesting to see what the listeners have got to say, mate. Right, so that's the easy one, the goalkeeper, Juicy.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest one for me.
David Golson start. Do we agree, Bridge?
Yes, indeed, pal. I think they're pre-written into the team sheet, to be honest.
I didn't think any of the two of them were particularly great last weekend, but they done okay. So then we're into the left-hand side of the defence with the boy Davis, who was half injured. I'm tempted to go with John Suter, if I'm being honest. Davis fit or no, if I'm honest. I get it. You like the balance of the left-sided, Juicy, but John Suter maybe starting to edge it.
I wouldn't have any issue with that. I would go with Suter, and I would go with Borna as the left back next to him, because actually I think we'd all agree Borna's had a decent season. Give Yilmaz an opportunity in the game for sure, but start Borna, start Suter. Goldson naturally keeps his place, and obviously Tav as our biggest goal scoring threat.
What are you thinking, Bridge?
Yes, I agree with you. If Davis is unfit, then it's got to be John Suter. But I think Davis just, particularly for the left-hand side, and it's natural, the way he can naturally play football. I thought he said the last couple of games he played not too bad. But I agree with you. John Suter's a walk-in certainty for that. Whether he can play on the left side naturally, I don't know. And for me, I would go with Yilmaz at the back. I definitely think that boy deserves a good run against that mob, just to see what he's like. And always take him out at half time if he's no good, He's done it before, but you've got to test him and get him tested out against them. The best time to do it. That's what I think, anyway.
I've got to say, I watched Yilmaz closely at the weekend, mate, and he did look rusty. I didn't think he had the greatest of games. He looked like a guy who was coming back from injury, Juicy.
Yeah. please don't think that I don't want him to stay at the club. I think he's worthy of being looked at over the summer and retaining him, see how he does next season. But Borna has done well enough for me this season to start this match, and you've got to have some confidence in players that have done okay for you this season, and he's one of them. He's not had a full season by any means in comparison to some of his peers, especially. I don't know what the future holds for Yilmaz. I think probably because of the investment, we won't be quick to sell him this summer, despite some reports. You've got to look at growing him into the team and give him the opportunity, because Borna won't be here forever.
Yeah. Well, if you look, sorry, can I just say, if you look from a full-back perspective, if you look what that mob across the city did with a young Canadian boy, I think he's Canadian, Johnson, and they played him, and they played him, and 3 times they played him, and he turned out to be a wee bit of a star for them. So Yilmaz has got to get his chance to do a similar exercise, no matter who it is against. It's only my feeling. However, I do agree with people when they say, well, the investment's been quite high, and it has been, and we haven't been able to get the best out of that guy at all. Not at all. But I'd like to give him his chance this weekend.
Yeah, but I get it, Bridge. Just I hope we can judge him when he's fully fit. Maybe had a pre-season under his belt. He does look comfortable on the ball. He's got to get used to new players. He had Matondo in front of him, which obviously they've not struck up a relationship yet. So there's a lot of new parts to that, and hopefully the young boy Yilmaz can get better and better for us, and we'll see what it takes. Juicy.
Absolutely, he's you've got to give him an opportunity in the summer to get a good pre-season, and got to remember, Bridgeman, the boy's been injured for the vast majority of the time he's been with us. So when we say it's not worked out, hasn't worked. It's worked out the same as it has for players like Lawrence, who we know was good, but only played half a dozen or so matches, and then we've not seen him since. So I think with players like Lawrence and Yilmaz, you've got to just give them the reset and go again with them and give them that full pre-season and see how they are, with the start of a new season, because they'll be judged and they'll be judged very quickly.
I don't disagree in any way, shape, or form, and it's much like the goalkeeper situation for me. I don't have a problem if he says we're going to go with Borna, magic. I'm only looking at it from my wee perspective. I'd like to see that lad getting a game against them, right? I don't know whether the manager is intending to get rid of this guy, Yilmaz, sell him off, or keep him. I don't know. I might be a better chance to play him there. Let's see what he does and what he can do, and let's see if he comes up with something. If he comes up with something, then the manager might just say, box ticked, and let's go on with it. I just don't know. But yeah, we can go with Borna anytime, no problem for me.
Okay. Now we're starting to start. So we move into midfield. Is it fair to say the two new players are absolute shoe-in? Hopefully the boy Raskin's fit or getting fitter, do you say?
Yeah, it's again probably one of the easier decisions for us to make. Assuming they're both fit, especially Raskin, give them the opportunity to start. Cantwell has been by far the biggest shining light, I think. You might argue Tillman possibly, but obviously he's not available. In terms of an actual signing, who is part of our club, I think Cantwell has the potential to be a massive future star for us. His attitude's good. I like his physicality. I like some of his antics. I think he's got his head switched on. And I think he could be a future captain of this club as well. That's how highly I rate him.
Big words indeed. Just big words indeed.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, it looks as if his players have come in. He's became the leader. You can see the relationship with Raskin and Tillman were there. So maybe it's the new broom, Bridgeman, and new relationships forming. Yeah.
Yeah, going back to what you said, I think that those two, in my opinion, the three players in the midfield has got to be Lundstrom, Raskin, and Cantwell. That's the three for me. They're the boys that have got to do it. And I think Lundstrom's been having a fine game in the last few games as well. Raskin, I agree with you about his fitness. He seems to be getting taken off quite early. I'd like to see him managing to finish a game. This weekend might be a good chance for that. But he's a smashing player. That's three smashing players we've got. I would just wish Lundstrom's a wee bit quicker.
Yeah, okay. Lundstrom, Raskin, and Cantwell. Is that fair? Is that fair, Juicy?
Yeah, I don't think I can see beyond that. I think if Hadji starts, Hadji was more likely to be on that right side in the forward area. So I think that's probably our midfield three.
I can't think anybody else who's going to displace them at the moment, mate.
No, I'm not expecting to see Kamara start or Jack Lazarus his way back in.
I thought Kamara looked comfortable on the ball when he appeared at the weekend. But, that's the first we've seen him for a long, long time, so that's what it is. But I don't think many people think we're far away with that midfield, mate. So, okay, here comes the easy one for the two of you. Go to you first, Juicy, up front.
Oh, why did I have to go first? It's so difficult. I mean, Tillman is essentially gone. He's not a Rangers player now. We have to wait and see whether or not we get him, but obviously he's injured anyway. Alfredo, he's checked out. Like Kent, they've both checked out in a massive way. So do we really want to be playing them? The same as McGregor, really. Players who aren't going to be there next season. We know he's been forced into playing them both based on what we've had available. So I kind of wouldn't be surprised to see them both start. But I think the manager was really disappointed, as he alluded to, with Alfie's performance when he came on against the Sheep. So remind me who we've got left at the club that's available, because I think that's where we're really struggling. I'd love to see Matondo play and start on the left.
Why are you basing that, mate? Why are you basing that?
Well, I'm basing that on the fact that, like some of the other players that we've mentioned, similar to a Yilmaz, they've been out for so long that they're deserving of an opportunity. The only difference with Yilmaz is I think Borna is available and keeps him out for this game. I don't think Matondo has that same level of risk. Kent, very poor and has checked out. Fashion, unless you play him on the left, I think Fashion is the only other person I could argue with if you actually played him in his correct position. But I think you've got to give Matondo that opportunity to start. What does it matter? Let's give these guys an opportunity in a very big match to see what they can do, because his future this summer is on the line as well, as far as I'm concerned. Despite the outlay, he's got to get to it and start showing us what he can do for the money we've invested.
Don't mean to put you on the spot. Is there a player in there?
Oh, I think if you rewound a number of previous shows, my general feelings on Matondo was that he's been terrible for us. I alluded back to his pre-season where he looked like the second coming. My dad reminded me that you can't live off a pre-season and expect the fans to continue to herald you. There might be a player in there. I'm on the fence, Ox. I need to see him have a decent run of games, and I think then you can judge a player after half a dozen or so continuous appearances with no injury worries, being fully fit.
I get that. That's fair. Is there a player in there, Bridge?
Are you talking Matondo?
Yes.
I think personally speaking, my forward line is right. Sakala, Matondo. That's what we've got. I think they're the only ones that are fit and available to do a turn. You could slot Hadji in on the right hand side if you wished, you know. But I think we Wright would do your turn. He seems to be getting a grip of the ball and playing quite good football and being effective. Obviously, half time comes along if he's not done it and he's off, you know. But,
are you basing on that make couple of runs he done on Saturday, mate? Not
just that. There's been a few times he's been on. I don't think he's the greatest player in the world. I think number one, I think he's far too light. And I think that Matondo's the very same, far too light. Because when people come in and bump them, that's them off, you know, no matter what it is. But that's the three I would play. I would certainly play that. The only other thing you could maybe sneak in the right hand side is Arfield. You put Arfield wide right, but Matondo would be playing it in the left for sure. So Masakala and Matondo. That's what I would say.
Okay, all right. Interesting that people think. Listen, I accept your point, Juicy. Matondo's not a run of games. You've got to be fair to judge. At the moment, I'm going to be kind. You're sitting on the fence. The jury's out for me, and the jury's away to a hotel, mate.
Wait, a hotel? Oh, that jury. All right, okay, got you, pal. Took me a while there, didn't it?
Oh,
shocker.
Juicy?
Yeah, I'd give the guy a chance. The biggest problem for me, Ox, is who do you start in the striker position? Do you start Hadji as a false 9, which I believe he has played before? Do you start Hadji on the right? Please, please, please don't start Fashion as a striker. Please. And it's quite clear that Fashion could well start. It's the only person who might get in the way of that, as Bridge suggested, is does the very well turned out Mr. Wright play. I just don't think he's good enough either. I really don't. And I'm not saying he's not well turned out. He is, but like Fashion, we're so limited with the options in the striker role on the right side. I'm really not sure what we've got. If Tillman was fit, we probably would have been looking at starting him as a forward. And this is why I'm worried that he probably will go Alfredo, because actually, what else is there?
I think the problem is that if Michael Beale starts Alfredo at the weekend, mate, I think that screw of pressure turns again because of what he said at the weekend.
I know.
Yeah. If it goes wrong, people will say, well, you told us he checked out. You told us he's the energy. You start him. Do you know what you're doing? That's the criticism Michael Beale has got.
It puts a lot of pressure onto him based on his decision making, and so is he going to be forced into probably not playing him based on that? And if based on his work rate, I think a lot of fans would be very, very upset if Alfredo does start. So perhaps you're right on that. He's maybe moved himself into a bit of a corner over that. So if we assume he's not playing, who do you put there?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. His choices are limited, and the obvious choice is that we should, different from what you're saying, he will place the calendar.
Oh.
It gets deeper, doesn't it?
I'm going to need a stronger drink for the second half of this show, because that thought has sent shivers down me.
Look, I've got a question. I said the question right at the very start. We don't know, officially anyway, we don't know if Morelos is going to play or not. Is he going to be selected? Is he going to be in the subs bench? And so on and so forth. Or did what the manager said and all the interpretations of it, does that mean what we all think it meant? And that is, he's not going to play him again. He's had it, he's left Ibrox, blah, 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 blah. I just don't know. I don't think anybody really knows. And what can I say? As far as I'm concerned, my mind's got him out because that's what the manager said. It will look really strange if Alfredo Morelos on the bench. or anywhere near it, Rangers at the weekend. Very strange indeed. Well, you normally know what's going on, Oxjar. What do you think? No, but what do you think? Do you think what the manager said is right? He did say it, and it's going to happen like that?
Well, he did say it. We heard it, mate. What I would say is he's intimated that that's his possibly maybe the last time we'll see him. I'm not saying definitely, possibly, because he intimated that he hadn't tried a leg. And that doesn't matter what you've done in the past. If you do that, you don't deserve to get back in that team, do you see?
No. It's just a question of, I wouldn't say he's holding us for ransom, because it's clear that he wants out as well. But when you've got no one else available, it makes it really, really difficult to make the appropriate selection. I feel really bad for the manager on this one, because we all try and play our hand at manager on this show and pick our selections, as does every fan. But I think most fans would not be starting Alfredo Morelos on this match. There's still multiple opportunities, as Bridge alluded to earlier, for some of these players to have their farewells, quote unquote. I don't think this is the match where you want to be playing him. He's not the Alfredo Morelos of the 55 winning season. We need to forget about that. He's not that player anymore. So, but with Cholak being out, with Robbie Ewer and Lovelace not being ready in most of our opinions, you can't really just bring them into this.
We've got to start being realistic with some of these shoots, mate. They're miles away from playing in the first team, miles away. But that's a whole different debate, yeah.
That's another 2-hour show, my friend. They showed some fight last night and coming back into that match. The penalties were terrible, but penalties is a 50-50, and there might still be some ability there. Lovelace showed that he's got some technical skill, but it's in those big matches where you need to be able to be more consistent, and they've not shown that to us yet. As you've been saying that for months, Ox.
Yeah, I'm sure we might come back to that. But anyway, come and join us. Give your thoughts. We'll give you our teams. We'll give you our reasons. Let's hear your reasons. We'll have a tune. Get yourself in mute, lads.
I sailed the wild Atlantic, crossed the broad Pacific shore. I sailed around the stormy capes and I've heard the 40s roar. I've flying the Indian Ocean, I've sailed the China Sea. But there's a sea back home in Scotland, more than all the rest to me. It's the blue, blue, blue sea of my God. It's the clearest sight that I have ever seen. It's the blue, blue, blue sea of my God. And it's part of the really just there sea. No more I'll sail the 7 seas, no more I'll ever roam. No more I'll feel the urge again, I'm back where I belong. And 3 o'clock each Saturday, I'll join the mighty throng. With flags and banners all around, I'll proudly sing this song. It's the blue, blue, blue sea of my God. It's the cleanest sight that I have ever seen. It's the blue, blue, blue sea of my God. And the path of the really just there sea. It's the blue, blue, blue sea of my God. It's the cleanest sight that I have ever seen. It's the blue, blue, blue sea of my God. And the path of the really just there sea.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
All right, we're back, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Right, yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting how we're going to go. We haven't got a lot of options if we're being fair, Juicy, have we?
Oh, no. And during the break there, I was just reminding myself of the first team squad, and it's not good in terms of availability. And we've said that for the entire season. I know. So why should that be any different now? In terms of other forward options, you know that Scotty Arfield gives you everything. We've played. Have we played him in a false nine before? I mean, he's certainly a good central attacking midfielder, and I want to see him involved in this match this weekend. I want to see him at the very least as an impact sub, which I think is his best attribute coming on. I don't think he's as good in a 90-minute match, Ox. But it just shows you how limited we are in availability. It was very much like this, wasn't it, when McCrory played his first Old Firm game in terms of players that we had that were available, when Balogun had to play right back, remember, and was absolutely fantastic.
The good old days of Ian Balogun. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he was. I mean, I think we all appreciated him when he was here, but he's also an example of one of those players that maybe you don't always realise how good someone is until they've gone and how versatile he was. But he played that game, match where we won 1-0 against them. And we were all quite worried, weren't we, about him on the right side up against their players. And he absolutely bossed it. And we need to see players now who are with us show that versatility when we might need them to play out of position. But that was fantastic. And we had people missing all over the park that day. And they stepped up, as did McCrory. So please, let's keep it tight at the weekend. Hopefully there's not too much in it in terms of the goals, because we know that we don't have a lot of goals in us. So we need to keep it tight for that reason, Ox. And it might have to just be a Bridgeman or 2-1 or something like that, because you can't see us scoring a lot of goals against anyone at the moment with a forward line where we're struggling to put together who on earth is going to start.
Yeah, I agree with you. There isn't a lot of options. If you take all the forward players that's fit, you've got potentially Hadji. If you accept he's a forward player, Matondo, Sakala, Morelos, Scott Wright, and if you agree that Alfie's not going to start, or maybe not even be involved, that's one less. You're really struggling, Juicy.
Yep. And unless you put your boots on, I don't know who else are going to be available on that bench. It's a match where whoever starts, they need to bring their very, very best, and they need to be on it from the beginning, because there might not be a lot riding on it in terms of the league, but it's still an Old Firm game, and you're still going to be judged on it. If we were fighting them just for a packet of crisps and some iron brew and a bottle of Bucky, we'd still give everything. So it won't be any different. And I wouldn't expect anything less from them either, because they're going to bring it, and they want to finish their season undefeated against us. So there's still a lot to play for.
Just to let you know, Bridge, I had a text from a good friend of the show over in Northern Ireland, and he agrees with you about Scott Wright, and he would play him through the middle. Wow, bold call or Terry, a different Terry. Yeah. You there, Bridge? He's not worked out that mute button, has he?
Yeah, I'm saying I've tried to work out Mr. Wright all
And
season.
just that other Terry that I gave a shout out, that Rita deserves a medal. She's done a lot to put up with the years. Carry on.
I think that Mr. Wright is he's quite a nice young boy. Played football, well dressed, well turned out. Mammy likes him, and so on and so forth. But I don't think he's going to be. If given the chance of 2 or 3 games, and the end of the season might be a good chance to put him in on the right. Let's see what he can do for himself. That's all I'm meaning. See if we can get to the end of the season, and then you've got a full season, a pre-season ahead of you, mixing with the full team and going and doing it. And let's see what you can come up with for next season. You might be in the pool, you might know. It's just uncertainty we've got from the top of the tree, particularly about surrounding Morelos. Really and truly, I can't get my mind. I'm like yourself. I can't make my mind up that the guy's going to go away. I just can't do it. I think he's going to still be here. For some reason, I keep thinking it. So forgive me, and it's confusing me.
Let it go, Bridge. The ship sailed. You've missed the boat.
Ship sailed. The ship sailed. These are great words, by the way. Great words.
It's gone, you seen it?
Oh, massively gone.
Come and join us. Bridge has still got a place for Alfredo Morelos. I think he's one of the few. Juicy.
Oh, so untrue.
Hey, look, I did this on multiple shows. As far as Alfredo and Ryan Kent are both concerned, even if they were bringing a level that we have seen from in the past that was excellent, we still can't disagree that they've already been with this club for a long time, particularly Alfie, who came under Caxinia. Even if they were playing on a top level, they would leave with our best wishes, because we'd say that they've given great service to our club. Okay, the last season and a bit has been poor, and this season's been really, really poor. So, you know, I wouldn't want to keep them for that reason, but they've certainly been here for a long enough amount of time that they haven't been just flash in the pans that have used us as a stepping stone and then disappeared. You know, they've given the service to the club. Okay, it's not ended great, but most players don't stay as long as they have at most clubs these days. So I think for that reason alone, it's time to find new pastures. Coupled with the fact that the form's been really, really poor, it's just going to make that even clearer. And I think some fans will lose their minds if they are at this club in the summer.
Are you telling me that fans would lose their mind if the team came out on Saturday and Morelos and Kent were playing against you? Is that what you're telling me?
I caveat that with one small point. Football is very fickle, and if Alfredo Morelos and Ryan Kent turned up with championship number 55 mentality, ability, and scoring and assisting outcomes, would we all suddenly forget about the whole season and want them to stay? I don't think we would. I think we'd be really pleased that they've gone out on a high, and then we'd say thank you, goodbye. But the form improvement required for them to do that would be of biblical proportions, and I just can't see it, Ox. You know, you'd be looking at Celtic having to drop their levels to even make, you know, those boys have a chance, because they've been so poor against them this season. The shift in ability from the two of them would have to be too much, and I just want to give someone else a chance.
Ship sailed. Simple, Bridge. Ship sailed.
Hit the button too quickly. Sorry about that. No, I'm not going to take you in the way for you. You've been 100% on that. So hats off to you. The only other player I would play up front of anybody, I would find a wide thing for Hadji if we wanted to take a chance on him. We know he's a quality player, but I don't think he's going to have the engine to play in our midfield against Celtic. I just don't see it. I think that you can maybe play Hadji up front. He's got lots of skill, and he might just make something up between him and Cantwell, or him and Ashcan. Sorry. So that could happen, you know. I just don't see it, but I'd hate to see the boy getting injured. And he could quite easily get injured in this game. You know, it's going to be a horrendous game. It's a really tough game. And of course, they'll be greeting because they don't have any fans.
They're always greeting, aren't they? Where did you stand in last night's debate that we didn't know we were going to get doing? And it ended up the Ryan Jack show, if I'm being honest. I don't know if you picked up the show last night. I know you've always got, when you're on the show, you've always got a line of female admirers, mate. So, where do you stand on the Ryan Jack? It was rumoured in the press yesterday.
About whether he is retained for another season.
Yes.
He's less injury prone than some of the people we've got on our books, but he's still been injury prone. And I would perhaps be wrong of me to batter Kamar Roof with the same stick and give Ryan Jack a free pass. They've both been really, really good for Rangers when they've played, but it's so few and far between. And Jack plays for a bit and then he's gone for another 5 or 6 games. And he's pretty much been like that for his whole Rangers career. Of all the players who were thinking about going or we might want to leave, he perhaps might be in the bracket of a lot of fans wouldn't be too concerned if he was retained for one more season. There's got to be some continuity with the squad. Some players will stay, albeit maybe just for one season. A player like an Arfield or a Jack does fall into that bracket. I feel like Arfield's done enough this season that I wouldn't mind him staying for another year based on his performances, based on his likability in the squad and positivity, what it certainly looks like from looking in from the outside. And I think Jack is a leader as well, and I wouldn't mind it if he stayed. We've got more out of him than some of the aforementioned players like Roof in terms of matches on the pitch, even though he has been injured a lot. Would you agree with that? Am I on my own bridge?
Go on, Bridge.
No, I've always been a fan of Arfield's. They've been a smashing player since he came to Rangers. And I said this at the end of last season. I said I would like to see Arfield staying for another season. And I said it earlier on, maybe a month or so ago, and when we talked about these things, I said I would definitely have Arfield for an extra season, and possibly Ryan Jack as well.
What are you basing that on, mate?
I think he's got. At the time we're speaking about the lack of people with Rangers knowledge, blah blah blah, and the no heart and so on and so forth. And
so why don't they give me a contract and let me give me £500,000?
Yeah, well, I think we could all say something like that, couldn't we? That was on there, I'll get in there, you know. But yeah. No, I think that Alfred, dear almighty, Arfield has been a tremendous servant to Rangers over certainly the last couple of months as well. He's came on, he's not done anything wrong. He's put a couple of goals in, or created chances. He's there, and he's got no fear, absolutely no fear. And that's the kind of things that a lot of Rangers fans want now. No fear, get in, no respect. Do not respect the opposition. When you're playing for the Rangers, do not respect them. Get in, tore in about them. Just get right into their body. Boot them off the park because they're going to do it to you.
Why would we talked about Ryan Jack in the last 3 seasons, and that's including the 55 season. Scotty Arfield, the last 3 seasons, has started 36 games. Even less, I think, than Ryan Jack. I'll check that out again, what Ryan had. 36 games in the last 3 seasons. Why would we give him another contract? Ryan Jack has started the exact same number of games, 36. So between them in 3 seasons of 38 league games, yeah, they could have started, let me see, 114 each, yeah? Yeah, they've started 36. Why would you give them our contracts? I'm struggling, boys. Help me.
Well, I've just said, as far as I'm concerned, I would give him another contract. Arfield, definitely. Definitely on that contract. Because you're looking for continuity. You're looking for that man.
Where's the continuity? He started 7 games this season.
Yeah, but he's not getting a game. He's not getting a chance at a game.
The manager always.
There's a lot of favouritism went on. There's a lot of favouritism went on for starting games. If this is a squad, there's my team, and I'll dot the I's running about there, and we'll just throw anybody on. That's what was happening with Van Bronckhorst. They're ending up with 5 and 6 players getting put onto the pitch, and none of them knew where they were playing it, and so on and so forth. That went on, and I don't think it's going on too much with Beale, but he's not learned the players yet, in my opinion. I just like to see Arfield. Look, if the club don't want Arfield, that's okay with me as well.
I think the two of them at times have been marvellous for us, and I get it that they've got a passion for your club, you see. But sell it to me. I'm the finance director, and you've came with that contract, and I'm saying to you, there's a number of games I've played the last 3 years. Why am I giving them a new contract? It's somebody else's money.
I've never thought that Arfield was great from the start. He has to be used as an impact sub. So your figures there about numbers of games starting, I actually feel that justifies what I said about him coming on as a sub, because he's been far better utilised as a sub. I've never seen him to be a fantastic player when utilised for the whole 90 minutes. He's that better player coming off as a sub, giving you some attacking options when you need to change the game a little bit. Is that worthy of being retained for another season? Maybe not. I'm just thinking about from the viewpoint of, are we really going to have 15 to 20 players leave otherwise? If these players who are what you call maybe fringe players, are they all going to go? Is the clear out going to be to that extent? Maybe it will be. I wouldn't be surprised if he left Ox. I think I'm just giving you some options here in terms of players that may well stay. I wouldn't be surprised if what you said, he goes. I wouldn't be surprised by that.
I get that the two boys care about the club. I get that they've been good players for us at times in the past when fit and selected. I get that we need them because they're Scottish and because of the Scottish-based players that we need in our squad. I get all that. But I just don't see the economics. I really don't. I don't think there's any room for sentiment. And I'm just saying that if they're on about 10 grand a week, that's £500,000. What for? He'd be a cheerleader. I'll get Southside and Stevie to do that.
I don't think there's anything saying it's died in the wool. I think that it's up to the manager if he wants to keep him. I'm only saying from a Bridgeman perspective, I quite like Arfield as an impact man. I like him to come on and score some goals for us in key games. Marvellous stuff, and you get thrilled by it. And I don't see any problem with getting him a type of contract. I don't mean they're going to have to give him £90 million a week. He's got whatever contract he's on, come to an agreement on that contract. Do you want to stay for another year? Then there's what you're going to be offered. Simple as that. And if he doesn't like it, then that's it. I don't have a problem if he hit the half his salary, because you're not going to play any games from the start. Basically, you're going to be an impact player, and that's what we'd like you to be. But it gives you another season at the club. That's what I'm saying.
You might not be alone with that. Yeah. Interesting, Juicy.
Well, it's interesting that the availability of players as such is that we're debating over Scotty Arfield's future to this degree. But he's an attack-minded player, Ox, and the options are really light. I mean, look, we already know that it sounds like it's really unlikely that Lawrence is going to be available for the start of the season. I think the manager alluded to him being available towards the end of August. So don't just suddenly think that because the season's ended that players like Lawrence are suddenly going to be magically available from the start of the season. So, we're going to be missing forward players who we already know are staying at the club. So if he gets rid of all of these other players, he's going to have to bring a lot of resources in. And that's no golden nugget, is it? There's no guarantee that buying a whole new team means they're all suddenly going to gel immediately. Takes a little bit of time, and you do have to have some continuity, whether that's a Scotty Arfield or a Jack or whoever. But from what it sounds like, we've written off so many players that there's not going to be much of a recognisable 11 from the start of next season.
Well, it's going to be a different team, mate.
It's very different, but there'll still be a few. You will have a McCrory at least in the squad. Hopefully, you'll have Cantwell. You'll have hopefully Raskin, unless he gets a big money move to Chelsea. We may still well have Hadji, because I feel like he owes us a season, really, from all these players that we did rate and that have been injured for so long, like a Hadji and like a Lawrence. I feel like they owe us a season before we sell them on, to justify the faith that we put into them in terms of looking after them, getting them back up to health. I want to see Hadji have one more season with us.
All right, okay, man, I get it, mate. I get it. Come and join us. This is a phone-in show. We want to hear from you. 0141 356 1972. It's all about opinions. Actually, it's slightly different for the chaps. But it's interesting. Interesting debate, do you see it?
Oh, of course it is.
It's also going to be an interesting period of speculation, do you see it?
Oh, well, I think any summer, regardless of how well your club is doing, if your club's doing well, your club's had a bad season, regardless, the speculation is always up there. And I think perhaps when you haven't had a good season, it's even more rampant, because this team has come to the end of its natural cycle. We know there's going to be a lot of changes, and the speculation, and maybe we'll have a few transfer shows over the summer. Who knows? Depending on if certain news breaks, because it's always very exciting to talk about new signings, particularly if we know they've got a proven pedigree, and even if they haven't, we can then just speculate even further about how well they'll do.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting summer, Bridget.
Very interesting. I'm looking forward to it. I'm telling you, I'm looking forward to it. But first of all, I'm looking forward to Saturday. Huge game. I want us to do well in that game.
Yeah,
I wish we could pick any player we wanted.
Right, just spot on. But we haven't got a lot of options if we're being fair on the manager. But I mean, we've struggled to put options up. Our options are very limited, Bridget.
Very limited, pal. Very limited. There's not very much we can say. We're shall we say, a splinter pool, pool of players for our club, and we need to get decisions made, please. I hate to think what's going to happen on Saturday, and when you look at the players that we've talked about that won't be in the team, my goodness gracious, there's a lot of players. It's only got a squad of 14 players, and that's about it. They're going to be any good to us.
Yeah, we've obviously been rumoured with a few players a day again, do you see it? All sorts.
And that's really pleasing to see, because that's actually really good that the speculation started early. There'll be many that are false, and there'll hopefully be some that are true. And we know that a lot of the players that are leaving were on big wages. So even though a player like Kent might be going for nothing, his wage was considerable. So there will be money to spend on players. And it doesn't have to be crazy money. It doesn't have to be Ryan Kent type money. It doesn't have to be Torre Andre Flo type money. It's about being shrewd with what's available. And from what we've seen so far in the two signings that Bill has brought in, I think we can be quite pleased, because they've been probably the biggest part of the second half of the season for us. So again, regardless of what this result is at the weekend, I know there'll be some fans again, I've said this a couple of times, that will lose their mind and want the manager hung out to dry if we don't get the right result. But that's a crazy thought process. He has to be given the summer to bring his own team in. And the pressure will build very, very quickly thereafter, as it always does, like you said about what Walter Smith said about how many games it takes for you to be under crazy pressure. But he'll be judged like any other Rangers manager from the start of the season. So to an extent, he's had, I don't want to say a free pass because no one wants to lose Old Firm matches. But you've got to give him the opportunity to build his own team and then be judged accordingly.
The guy that we went to today is obviously Dujon Sterling. Bridge. I hear he's mustard.
You hear he's mustard. I heard that as well. That's quite a good joke, that one. He's mustard. Where is he from?
Just see,
Where's he coming from?
He's a boy. He's the Chelsea player, isn't he?
Yes. Do you think
Is that the one that's on loan at Stoke at the moment?
Yeah. Yes. Do you agree that it's a position that is a priority position, Ox, to fill?
I think
I've heard some conjecture on that.
My first signing would be a goalkeeper, mate, and then after that, you could have them in any order, mate. We need strikers, we need midfield players, we need defenders. Rich?
Yeah, 100% agree there. Number one goalkeeper. All the pressure is coming on the young McCrory, and that's not right. We shouldn't be putting pressure on any of our goalkeepers like that. And if we're going to buy a goalkeeper and bring somebody in, even if it's on loan or one of these pre-contract type keepers, I would imagine he's going to be the goalkeeper, number one goalkeeper for the club. And I think there's that boy who's been is it alone in Man United at the moment? But I think his name's Butland. So
yeah, that's
he's going
a strong rumour. I'm quite. We get involved in the speculation. I know the Port Bear loves it, but I just like to wait and see them with the scarf above their head, if that makes sense. Do you see?
No, I agree. It's always a great feeling, isn't it? And look, some players work out and some players don't. And please don't think that I'm trying to temper it, Ox, but seeing a player holding the scarf over the head is great in the moment, but I know that it doesn't always work out for everyone. So I just want them to be really careful of who they bring in, and hopefully, from what we've seen, our manager has an eye for quality. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm sure there might be some SPFL players we might have our eye on. There might be some players from the English divisions. I just want him to scout wide and don't minimise your opportunities. Look plenty wide enough, because there's so many quality players out there. Dutch leagues, we spoke about how surprising it was that the previous manager didn't even look in his own nation's league. I know there's some expensive players, but there's also a lot of other clubs in the Netherlands that are affordable on an SPFL level. Belgium, where we've had some success with players, not so much with Matondo, but there could still be more to come. You've got to look for these players, and some people have spoken about SPFL assets like Van Veen and Nisbet as people that are proven goal scorers in the SPFL. There's something to be said for that, because it's not all just about the massive games. It's about doing the business week after week against the hammer throwers. And sometimes you need someone who knows how to score in that league. And I think Van Veen is perhaps a little bit too old as a long-term solution. But I'd certainly tip my hat off to him in terms of what he's done this season for Motherwell. We've been talking about Nisbet on and off for a while, haven't we, Ox? I don't know what would happen with that one. But I think you've got to look at it in terms of the longevity. Please don't be buying players that are only going to be good for a season.
How would you go about it, Bridge, if you were making the call? Would you go for the guys on 3 contracts? Now, I'm not getting into the Scottish or the rest of the world debate. I'm just talking about how would you go about it? Would you purchase free transfers whose contracts are up, obviously cost you more in wages, or would you be trying to prize guys away from their club and better their wages, but obviously their wages wouldn't be so high because there's a transfer involved? What way would you go?
I'd go for the pre-contract boys. That's what I'd go for. You're going to get decent players in among it. I'm not saying they're world stars or anything, but you're going to get decent players that have been basically released. Probably can't get a team as well, you know. I think this goalkeeper, based on what wee bit that I've read about him, Butland coming up from Manchester United, not Manchester United, Stoke City, whatever it is anyway. I think that boy there would be a steal. Because you're going to get him free, and that's what I'm looking for Rangers to do that. But don't go out and get free transfers for any old Tom, Dick, or Harry. They'd be probing and you know what they're doing. And I think that boy, he's English. I think he's England caps, so he's not going to be a fool, you know. So if you get him in a free transfer, that'd be fantastic. No, yeah, I think he's 30, 29, 30 or something like that. So you're only going to get probably 3 seasons or 3-4 seasons, then you're going to start to think.
The same as Alan McGregor, mate. You've got 11 out of him.
Yes, of course, but I don't know if he's going to be like Alan McGregor. But all I'm meaning is you're going to get 3 or 4 seasons out of him, maybe 5 at a stretch. And that's a really good deal for you if you can get that. I don't know whether they're going to give them 4-year contracts or anything like that. I really don't know. That's up to them. But that boy coming up for there, should I say, getting a 4-year contract would be fine. It's just fabulous, as long as it's not too much for us, you know, because I don't want anything like that.
But it's a bit of a fallacy to say they're free in it, out of contract players, because obviously, Juicy, what happens is they get bigger wages because there's no transfer involved, so ultimately it costs you the same dough. But I'm just interested to see what way you would go.
I think that's why I'm saying, forgive me, that's why I'm saying I would rather go for the free contracts.
Yeah, let Juicy come in, mate.
Oh, sorry, Juicy.
Yeah, on you go.
Over the longer term, yes, you're right, Ox. You're paying perhaps the same amount over a longer piece, but I would imagine that doesn't hurt the club as much because it's over the longer term and you're not having to necessarily pay out as much at the beginning, although all player deals are different now, aren't they? And you know, we've seen with some of the players that we've sold, we haven't even received all the money yet because some of it's based on appearances and performances, and you know, we haven't even had all of that money from some of those guys that we sold in the last year or two. So all kinds of deals can be manoeuvred now, but I don't think we're in a position where it would be smart to spend 5-6 million on one player. And you know something, I include Tillman in there, and I'm not entirely convinced he's actually going to become a Rangers player. I think he's already gone back to Bayern Munich, which is his parent club. He's not going to play for us again this season, and you know, we need to seriously consider whether that 5 million is a good outlay for us as a club, or would we be better investing that across multiple players? We need to strengthen in so many areas that I don't think it should just be about one particular player and going all out to get them. We needed to re-strengthen so many positions, Ox.
I couldn't agree more, mate. A couple of years ago, we never seen this coming, mate. I think in hindsight, we made mistakes last summer with recruitment. We also made mistakes with retention. Yeah, so ultimately the people collectively making the calls and maybe made mistakes. But what I will say in the defence bridge, actually, when I looked at it last season, I could see the logic in extending the boys' contracts. I could see the logic, and I'm counteracting against my argument of this year. But I think we've got to keep learning as a club, mate, what we do with contracts.
Yeah, I think some of the contracts that were extended over the past couple of seasons have turned out to be a bit of a disaster for us, to be honest. Look, you can't see average class, good quality players walking at your club and not having to play game of football for you for 2 seasons. That's just not right. So we've not managed these situations properly at all, in my opinion. And we're going to lose what we could have had good money for them. We're going to lose all that good money. Not that it was going to cost us anything, but we could have had money for them. And that's the things that I think of, nothing else. I want my club to be managed properly, top to bottom. Now we're going through, in the last few months, we're going through a sort of wars at the board level, turmoil at the board level, should I say. And that's starting to reflect down the way. Hopefully we're able to pick it up and stride forward this season. Get all that behind us, because we've had that for the last every year for the last 10 years. Problems in the board and things like that, you know. Now, hopefully, it's going to be all cleared up, and it's the same with the team. Get some decent players in, make sure you're happy with them, and know what you're doing with them. That's all I'm asking. Please don't let us down again, please.
Well, the guys that's potentially leaving the club, Juicy Hollander, Stephen Davis, Bill McGregor, Ryan Jack, Scotty Arfield, Alfredo Morelos, Ryan Kent. I hope I've not missed anybody. There is going to free a lot of wages up there for the SPFL.
Pretty much everyone you've mentioned there were big boy players on the biggest wages at this club. So it really does wipe the slate clean in terms of, you know, the finances that we've been spending on these guys on a weekly and monthly basis. So that's what gives me greater hope in having that money to invest across the whole squad. We really need to build a squad that can compete. We're going to be in 4 tournaments again. We don't know exactly what European tournament we'll end up in, but we're guaranteed group stage football in one of them. Hopefully it'll be the Champions League. We all hope that. We've also got to be realistic with where we are. We're just about to build a new team and a new squad for this season, and as always, those Champions League qualifiers come around far too soon in the season, Ox. So we've got to temper that a little bit in terms of what we want versus being realistic, and it's just going to be even more pressure for the manager. We've got to build a squad that can compete on all levels, and that is not something that happens immediately. Sometimes that can take a few seasons, and the Rangers manager doesn't get that time.
I agree. Right, here's one for you. If you're talking about transfers, yeah, you're talking about transfers, then this is all going to be about recruitment in the next few weeks, right? Who's the best transfer we've brought in the modern age? We'll go back. Well, where the modern age started in 1960 for Bridge, if we're being fair, Juicy, all right? Who's our best ever transfer in been? I think I know Bridgeman's answer. Bridge?
Mr. Baxter, followed by Mr. Steen. Great transfers. Fabulous.
Yeah, but as Willie Johnson said, after the first 3 games, we did.
That's a brilliant saying, that. You did nothing after it.
I get that. Big shouts there. Top man, top hard ones to beat. Juicy, what's your thoughts? Different eras, of course.
Yes, I'd have to refer to my father on some of the older players during the 50s, 60s, 70s, etc. But I think perhaps in more recent years, Lorenzo Amoruso, what a transfer that was. And also a player that did not settle immediately. So when we talk about expectations and kicking some players out the door, really quickly because they haven't performed immediately or they've been injured or whatever reason, Lorenzo Amoruso was a good case in point that hard work and persistence pays off. Not every time, but it can pay off. My goodness, did it pay off with him, Ox. And he became the captain of our club, and what a beast of a player he was. Absolutely amazing. That's what you want to see. Players that don't always start off too well. Even Borna Barisic in his first season took him quite a while to get adjusted. So sometimes patience can pay off. And that's just to give some hope to these players who have been injured a lot this season. I think in terms of other top signings, look at Chris Boyd. I know that's a little bit more recent, but look at the goals return that we've got from him as a transferred player. Really, really good. And to the same extent, Nacho Novo from Dundee. you're talking about internal transfers from within Scotland, incredible signing.
If you're talking about excitement, I think the just pure excitement, I'll let others judge where is success. I know there's only one guy in the modern era for excitement. I don't believe he was legendary status because I don't think he was at our club long enough. But while he was there, he was a legend. Paul Gascoigne, Bridge.
100%. If you think about it, go back to Dundee, one of the best players we've ever had with our club, so far as the servant's concerned, is John Brown for Dundee. Fantastic servant. And of course, you get to Gascoigne, you get to Gough, Butcher. They're round about the same era, you know. They were all fabulous players. Ray Wilkins, you just can go on and on and on, couldn't you? We've had all these great players, you know, in our team. And just, they were wonderful times. And round about that time, maybe just before it, you had the wonderful Davy Cooper, Derek Johnson. Players like that are just fabulous players for us. And if you go further up,
was there a transfer, mate? Was he a transfer in, was he?
No, he came through our youth, didn't he? I just mean they were playing. Oh, sorry. Of course, the question was transfers. Apologies.
You know,
I think Gascoigne, legend.
Excitement, mate. Excitement.
Yeah, absolutely. Loud up. My goodness gracious, they two were mad. Dynamite on a pitch. Dynamite. And you can go on and on because we had some guys that actually won the tournaments for us. Yelovich, Stephen Davis, people like that. Both of them scored in the cup final. They were just tremendous. Great players. What's the young boy was in the Lovenkrantz? My goodness, didn't he steal some goals? Great stuff. Yeah. If I'm labouring on, I'm sorry.
You know, but for excitement, funny enough, Gaza in the modern era, it'll be two managers that maybe got the excitement going. Yeah, there's Gerrard and Souness, if that's fair, juicy. Yeah, but however, players for excitement, Gaza couldn't be beat, I don't think. And in this era, if you like, who's really, Ryan Kent was a game changer because it got us back in the game again, but it's never had the excitement that these guys had. Or we're not shopping at the same place, and we're not shopping at the same retail store anymore just yet.
No, we're not. And he certainly did get us back into the game. And although I was talking about the longevity of him, he has been with us for a long time now in footballing terms in these days that we have now where players move all the time. He has been with us a long time, but he's certainly tapered off in terms of his powers and his abilities. And I think a lot of teams got wise to his abilities. And to be honest, when he was told to stop doing the tricks and that by Mackay, the element of his game that did light up the crowd kind of disappeared, didn't it? But it's not always about big money. You know, we spent 12 million on Torre Andre Flo. Actually, a lot of people forget he actually still scored quite a lot of goals for us, but he didn't do what, with the price tag comes great expectations, doesn't it? And he didn't perhaps do, well, it's really hard to fulfill the pressure of 12 million signing, isn't it, Ox? I like to look at players who perhaps didn't cost so much, like a Boyd or a Novo, as I said earlier. And value for money, it's far outdone some of the bigger signings we've made in terms of financial outlays. So if you're looking at goals returns or performance returns based on this, what we paid out for them, those guys are definitely up there as pound for pound. But you've got to imagine that players like Gaza and Laudrup were as great as they were, and they were great. They were probably quite expensive as well in terms of wages and the like.
Bridge, what about Alistair McCoy?
Oh, can you say probably pound for pound, one of our finest signings. Big Haitley again. pound for pound, one of our best signings. The medals they won, the games they won for us, just sheer quality. Rangers are driven right through with absolute quality players. You know, the De Boers. I mean, Ronald De Boer is a world-class player. Who's a wee for Moles? Michael Moles, my God. He's dancing out in the box. Just incredible stuff.
You're talking about impact coming in a club, the impact that these two players made. They never went on for different reasons. Negri and Moles was unbelievable.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Negri was just something to watch, by the way. Every time he touched the ball, you thought he was going to score. And I'm no kidding. Every time he touched the ball, you thought he was going to find a goal with it. Oh, wow. Oh, what a player. What a goal scorer, I should say. And look at us now. You make that contrast. You've got a guy you think he's going to score every time he gets the ball. And here we are, we're wondering if our players are even going to get the ball. No, he'd score. Wow.
The better with the two playing up the snow. Moles and Negri in the snow. If I'm being honest, just.
You would get the boots on.
What are they doing at the weekend? Have you your contacts and Southside's contacts? We've got to be able to get a word to him because Moles. Even after the injury, I know he was never as good, but he was still pretty good. I think sometimes we forget how good he was when he came back because he still had some skills, but he was never the level, was he, post injury against Bayern Munich? And you just sort of think about what might have been in terms of he'd have been up there with one of the biggest and best strikers Scottish football would ever have seen. And who knows what we could have done in Europe if he hadn't been out for so long. And even Negri got that eye injury and he was never the same again. We've been so blighted, haven't we, over the years with injuries?
Yeah. As I say all the time, gentlemen, every sign is a gamble. They need to settle. They need to click with the teammates, and then you need a bit of luck. Maybe the first shot goes in the net, the first shot goes by the post, and it takes off. There's a lot of luck involved, Bridger.
Massive amount of work, pal. And on Saturday, that's the type of thing. You just said the words yourself. What you're looking for is a wee on the front foot and a wee bit of luck in front of goal. And we don't care how it gets in. Let's get the first goal, and that settles us. Hopefully, would settle us down and let us go on and do it. We need a wee bit of change of luck. I don't think we're that far behind them with football, and based on the games that we've played them. But we're certainly far behind in scoring goals, that's for sure. And we need to do that. We really need to do that. We need to do it start. Let's start on Saturday. Let's get some goals on Saturday if we can. Please, Rangers, please.
Yeah. We score goals. We'll win the game on Saturday, just see.
Well, I would very much think that would be the case, and scoring first is so important in an old firm fixture. I'm not always one for the stats of teams scoring first and that, but it does take a little bit of that pressure off, doesn't it? And you can lure the other team into making mistakes, and then you can take it from there. If you concede first, that pressure's on you, especially if you're the home team. The fans can get uncomfortable and make that known, and you don't want that to be the case. You want to score, hopefully early, get a foothold on the match, and if you don't, they're going to make it very difficult for us otherwise, because whether we like it or not, we know we're up against a team that's well drilled and has been playing with each other consistently for a while now, whereas we've been forced into chopping and changing so often this season with the injuries and the like. We need to get that consistency. If we're going to match them at all next season, we need to keep a consistent team on the park.
Yeah, and that comes down to You need that bit of luck, mate. You know, and let's be honest, as much as we've been average at best at times and we can perform better, we know that through the whole season, Bridge. We haven't carried any luck, have we? But,
no, it's any luck on the pitch has been against us. That's the truth. It's been against us. And that's obviously the thing that changes. If you change of luck and get your players out there on the front foot, if you're on the front foot, you'll get there. You need to pick up second ball a bit quicker as well. But I think the midfield are playing quite well. And normally all the midfield need is that wee bit of luck with their passing. Get the passing right, and you're not going to go too far wrong. Shots at goal, please. Shots at goal whenever it's possible. 20 yards out there, go for it. We know we can do it. Please get in there.
Yeah. The word battle fever's used a lot for these games. I just think the support's a bit flat, if I'm being honest, Juicy, and I understand it.
Yeah, I mean, it's flat based on the circumstances surrounding the game, and we've been defeated on every single level by them this season, and that's always a signal. We know that football's reciprocal, and we know that it will come around again in our favour. It always does. We'll be playing this battle, for as long as we're all alive. So, that's the good thing about football. There's always the next match. There's always the next season, and we will get our opportunities again. That's for sure. But this weekend, despite everything that we've said, and it's still a big game. It is. You can't deny that. It's not perhaps to the level as other Old Firm games that we've had this season. Of course, it's obvious that I'm not going to shy away from that, Ox. But you still want the team to put in a performance because it's still a massive, massive match outright on its own. But yeah, is it bigger than the Cup final game? No. Is it bigger than the Cup semi-final game? No. Of course it isn't. But within the levels of everything else, it's bigger than every other match in Scottish football this weekend. So that alone means put in a performance and do not take anything lightly, because we will not in any way settle for a half performance.
Yeah, rightly so, Bridge. It's a game against them, and you
Absolutely.
need to get the sleeves over it.
Can I just ask, does anybody know who the referee is?
I haven't even looked at it, mate. I'll look at him on a night.
Right, no bother.
Usually it's the guy in the black, mate.
Aye. Well said. Usually it's somebody that doesn't like us, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't get too caught up the way referees. I think you make your own luck sometimes. I know with the bad call at their place. But I think you've got to put the ball in the net and keep the ball in the net, Juicy, and you win games.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. Oh, sorry, you said Juicy. Apologies.
That's the number one aim of the game. You've got to take dodgy refereeing decisions and the like out of it by trying to make it a non-event, by putting that ball in the net.
I've been frustrated. I was frustrated with Alfredo's call at their place. I get it,
I know, but it's not the entire match, though. It's a moment in the match. And this is where I get annoyed. People put so much emphasis on one particular moment. And yeah, of course, it is a big moment in the game, but it's not the only moment. You let a poor decision get in your head every time Rangers have had a poor decision against us in the league or in any competition, we'd be living in padded cells by now, because we'd have all completely lost our heads. It's about putting on your big boy pants, getting on with it, and not letting that poor decision change your mindset and your approach to the game. And it will happen again. We will have decisions that go against us, and it's about making the most of the chances that we get. The fact that it was our right back in that game who pulled us back into it when the rest of our forward line was still huffing and puffing still says everything to me. And I know Tav is maligned by some people, Ox, but the stats are there. The guy, for his, iffy as he is as a defender, we know he's not the best defender we've ever had, of course. the guy has kept us in matches this season for his goal contributions, both at assists and at goals. And he even assisted again at the weekend.
And you gave him an assist for that one, a corner kick into the box that everybody missed and it felt he can't. Well, you gave him an assist for that.
Yeah, of course, because statistically it's been his assist. He's got to take everything, but he's the guy that, from a statistical point of view, and I'm not a massive man, but he's the guy that has contributed. And imagine if in addition to him, you've got Kent chipping in with a dozen goals or Alfredo scoring 20 plus. That's where it becomes, rather than second place, it becomes title winning form. And that's what we had in 55. As well as Tav giving you those numbers, the forward line was giving you those kind of numbers as well. And that's what put us in a position to win the title.
Well, listen, gentlemen, we've used to not got a cloak in your house. We've reached that time of the evening, yeah? Well, last word for your good self, Juicy.
Oh, well, thanks for having me on, Ox. It's going to build up even more tomorrow. And you'll be able to listen to what the manager's got to say, and there'll be more commentary from that. And I hope we get a result this weekend. But, guys, whatever happens, and as Bridgeman would say, we're still going to follow. And, we're not going to give up based on whatever the result is this weekend. So keep following, guys, and thank you very much.
Bridge.
Oh, Fox, another magical night. Thanks very much for producer for looking after me, and to your techie boys in the background. Tremendous stuff. And to all the Rangers fans all over the world, in particular Rangers fans on here on Rangers Radio. Next game, biggest game of the season, and we better be up for it because the Rangers need us. The Rangers need us. So everybody keep it going for the Rangers. Keep it going.
And I thank your two selves, Juicy and Bridge, for joining us. Fox and Old School Blue for doing the technicals. Rangers Radio will be back tomorrow night between 8 and 10, talking about all things Rangers. Take it away, Old School Blue.
Sure, I was dreaming of old Ibrox, of her slopes and great grandstands, and I dreamed about the Rangers, the best team in the land. When my memory suggested of a vision bright and clear, of the strange things that would happen if we had the Rangers here. Now if the road to Ibrox Park way up the Shankill, and Ryan Loudrup came from Sandy Road, and Alistair Price came from East Belfast, and old Belfast became then old Glasgow. If the Rangers met the Celtic up at Windsor, sure no green flags at that game they would appear. Ulster's sons would never roll, and all the boys would stay at home if we only had the Rangers over here. I dreamed about a Ulster man who wore the shirt of blue, Bertie Manderton, Sam English, Laurie Hamilton, McCandless too. I have dreamed of Whitey McDonald, who came from Lisburn town, and the greatest, Billy Simpson, who never let them down. Now if the road to Ibrox Park way up the Shankill, and Brian Loudrup came from Sandy Road, and Ali McCoist came from East Belfast, and then old Belfast became old Glasgow. When the Rangers met the Celtic up at Windsor, then no green flags at that game they would appear. Austin's sons would never roam. All the boys would stay at home. If we only had the Rangers over here. If we only had Glasgow Rangers over